It's common to be several levels deep in a navigation stack and then to decide you want to return to the very beginning. For example, maybe your user's placing an order in your app. They've worked their way through selecting all product stuff, they've gone to the basket, they've entered shipping details and payment details, and then they've confirmed the order. And at this point, when they're done, you want to go back to the very, very beginning, back to the root view of your navigation stack. To show this is done, make a little sandbox that can push to new views endlessly by making new random numbers every time. First, make a little detail view that shows its current number as its title, then has a button that pushes to a new random number when it's pressed. So that says struct detail view, which conforms to a view, like that. This thing has to have a number being passed in. And inside here, we'll say there's a navigation link with a title of go to random number. And the value we'll push to will be int.random in 1 through 1,000. I'm going to say a nav title of its current number, like this. Number is my number, like so. And now we can present that from our content view down here, giving an initial starting value of 0, but moving to a new new detail view every time a new integer is shown on the screen. So I'll make an array we can move to here. I'll say at state private var path is an array of integers, like that. And then down here in the body, that's where we have our navigation stack bound to that path. So I'll say there's a nav stack here with path bound to $path. I'll make a detail view for my initial value of 0, and then say there's a navigation destination for int.self, the destination being I comes in, detail view number I. So when you run that code back, you'll see it basically pushes to infinite views. Start at number 0, press it once, 776, again 829, again 527, You can push and push and push and push and push as far as you can possibly go. Just keeps on going the entire time. And of course, you can unwind as far as you want as well. Now, when you're many, many views deep, like here, for example, and you want to get back to the very first screen again, you have two options to work with. First, if you do a simple array for your path like we have right here, then you can simply call remove all in your array. So remove everything from your path, which means go back to the original view. If, however, using a navigation path instead, you have a heterogeneous collection of data like ints and strings and who knows what's inside here, then you can make a new instance of navigation path and assign that to your path value. However, there's a bigger problem. How can you do that from the subview when you haven't got access to the original path property? Now here, you have two further options. You can either store your path in an external class that conforms to, or uses, the observable macro, or you can bring in a new property wrapper called binding. I've shown you observable previously, so let's focus on binding here. You've seen how at state like this, let us create some storage inside our view so we can modify values while our app is actually running for real. The @binding property wrapper lets us pass a piece of state into another view and modify it from there. We can effectively have a shared value, a shared state here in several places. I have it, it's there, and changing it in one place will change it everywhere because it is shared data. In our current code, that means adding a new property to our detail view that will get access to the navigation path array. I say this thing has @binding var path is an integer array like that. And then we're going to pass that value in down here. We actually use detail view. I'll say here, pass in path is $path. And down here again is path is $path, like so. So we're passing in $path here. We're going to pass the binding in, that two-way binding. We want detail view to be able to read and write the data. And now we can add a toolbar to detail view so we can change that path array dynamically. So here in nav title, we have a toolbar, toolbar by itself, please not roll, toolbar with a button saying home, This will just call path.remove all. Just wipe out the path entirely. If you're using navigation path instead, that's also fine. You'd say that path down here is an empty navigation path, like that. And then you'd simply call my path equals a new navigation path, like so, like that. Now you can see it's complaining a little, as I've said, an integer array. Make sure and change it in both places, like that. And that'll work great. And either of those work fine. So I can run the code again, and let's go through several views. So let's go in and in and in and in and in. Lots of places through. And I'm here in 534, I'll press home. Boom. Back to the very, very first view again. Now, sharing a binding like this using app binding is very, very common. It's exactly how text field and stepper and other controls work. In fact, we'll look at binding again in project 11, because then we'll make our own custom component. And there it's really helpful.